Let me take the glasses off. I'm on a journey towards becoming financially free. It took me to realize that I was not being a good steward of my money when I started looking at the debt that I had. Peace and purpose. So I know you probably clicked on this video and you're like, Kiana, why are you doing Shipt delivery? Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you're actually super interested in Shipt or signed up for Shipt and you're interested in the process. So I decided I'm going to make this video. I definitely want to address the question of why I'm doing Shipt delivery, and I want to talk about my financial life right now. But we'll talk about that a little later. First and foremost, I want to dive into Shipt delivery, explain to you why I chose to do Shipt as a side hustle, and also give you some tips as a Shipt shopper to use moving forward if this is something that you're interested in or something that you have recently signed up for. I love Shipt, to be honest, and not just because the CEO of Shipt is a Black man. Now, since starting Shipt, I have seen so many stores being added, so I do believe that Shipt is one of those great delivery services that is growing, is expanding. It went from me seeing only Target and Kroger in my area to now I see Jovi's, Lowe's, Best Buy, HEB. There are some great options. With Shipt, there are times where you'll have to shop for the customer, and then there are times where you just pick up the order and deliver it only. The only downside to those delivery only orders is that you have no idea what you're picking up. I remember one time I picked up an order and it was 6 big bags of cat food. And on top of that, I had to deliver it to, it was like a business. And the lady at the front wasn't holding the door for me and they didn't even tip me. So you just never know. You might have a few items. You may have a bunch of cases of water and cases of sodas. I will say, and any items that I recommend in this video will be posted in my Amazon storefront, but I highly recommend getting a wagon. I highly recommend getting a wagon, putting your groceries in that wagon, roll it to wherever you're dropping it off. If you're taking it to an apartment, hopefully they have elevators, or you may have to carry some things upstairs. And I'll touch on apartments in a second, but the wagon helps tremendously with those bags of cat food. If I had a wagon at that time, then I would have saved myself a lot of hassle going back and forth to the car versus just loading everything up once I get to the destination, rolling it to the door and dropping it off. So invest in you a wagon, invest in some type of car organization, because there are times where I'll pick up more than one order at one time. Luckily for me, I do have a nice size SUV. So sometimes I'll put one order in the trunk, one order in my back seat. But if you have a bunch of items, or maybe you just want to use your trunk, you'll be able to organize if you have like some little dividers or an organizer that you can put in your trunk. I have also seen people use color-coded stickers, which Shipt also sells, that you can put on the grocery bag so you know that this order is with this customer. So if Susie's order has all red stickers, then I know when it's time to deliver to Susie, I'm gonna grab all the bags that have the red stickers. Some type of order and structure will definitely help you to be a successful Shipt delivery person. Another tip that I'll say is I have my phone with pre-written text that I'll send out. So before I head to Kroger, I'll put hello, I'm headed to pick up your order from Kroger, and we'll let you know if there are any delays. I'll let them know once I picked up the order and I'm headed their way. And then if there is a delay, I'll immediately send a text like, I apologize for the delay. I'll let them know once the order is at their door. So I'm communicating with them and keeping them informed about their order throughout the entire process. Now, the Shipt app does have text as well, but I like to create my own, just make it a little bit more personable. I like to use their name throughout my text. I also like to put a little waving hand with the color of my skin. And this may just be a little just extra for me because a lot of the areas that I go to are predominantly white areas. And so sometimes it's good to just give them a heads up of who is coming by. I think it's great to send that little hand emoji, let them know, hey, I'm a Black girl, just so you know. I always say the same thing to all my customers when I drop off their order. I say, your order is at your door. Have a blessed rest of your day. I feel like saying have a blessed rest of your day lets them know the type of person that I am, that I am a woman of God, and this is who just delivered your order. It also helps with the tips because I had a customer tip me $40. She tipped me $40. I was late to deliver her order, so I was actually really shocked when I got the tip. But if it's another woman of God or a man of God or someone of, big faith that wants to just bless somebody for the day, that may be their trigger that speaks to their heart to say, I'm going to bless this person with a nice tip. As far as delivering to apartments, so I try to steer away from apartments. Today, I actually had to deliver to a motel. I was looking for 214. Now, usually, and this may just be a Texas thing, somebody write in the comments and let me know if this is US wide or whatever. It's been a while since I lived in St. Louis, so I don't remember how the units of apartments work. But usually when you see a number, let's just say 1424. Typically, 1424 would tell you that you're going to building 14 on the second floor. So 14 is the building number, 2 is the floor number, and then once you get there, you will look for 24 on that floor. That's typically how it works. Not too long ago, I went to an apartment and I was like, I'm fine. Like, it was on the second floor. But as I pulled into the apartment complex, I realized that the apartments on the second floor, it wasn't like a hallway. These second floors just had two doors. So I was like, So I had to look at the first floor to see what that ending number was to indicate if I was in the right area before I even walked up those steps. And it just frustrated me, I think, because it was hot that day and I was walking around the building looking for the apartment with 2 Target bags in my hand. So this is why I try to steer away from apartments unless I think it's on the first floor. But again, I was bamboozled today because I thought 214 was going to be building number 2, first floor, but it was a motel. So it was second floor, 14. So I don't know. It was easy for me to find once I got there. So I was happy that there was no delays or anything. And I picked up 2 orders today. A lot of times Target will have like 2 orders in one. If there are 2 customers that live close in range, they'll have you pick up their order and deliver it within that same hour. Sometimes you can just pick up 2 separate orders on your own, 2 or 3 orders. If you feel like you got it, you got it. You can pick up orders that are to be delivered within the same hour and shop those orders at the same time while you're at that store. The only thing I would suggest is making sure that you pull up the addresses that you're going to and make sure that you're looking at the map. You're not going 2 separate directions. I've picked up 2 orders and didn't realize one customer was like all the way on another side of Spring and I had to come all the way back on the other end, and you think you're going to be able to deliver these within that hour and something may happen. You may come across some construction and it doesn't happen that way. So if you're going to pick up multiple orders at once, just make sure that you're plugging in into your map before you accept the orders to make sure that it's not going to take you out of your way to deliver. It's never worth it to just pick up orders and then be all over the place, over town, trying to deliver these orders, especially when customers want their orders within the hour that they're requesting it. To that note, I like to keep track also on Google Maps my customers. So when I accept an order, I put a little pin in my Google Maps, and I've chosen like different color pins. So if I put a red pin there, that just lets me know that customer did not tip me. If I put a green pin, that lets me know that that customer did tip me. And you'll run across a lot of customers that do not tip, unfortunately. And I always refer back to my 6 big bags of cat food lady because she didn't tip. And that was a lot of work that I did. But there are customers that tip and tip really nicely. So I like to keep track of that. You can leave notes in the Shipt app for particular customers. Like if you add or accept an order from that same customer later, you'll be able to see your notes that you've left. But a lot of times you don't recognize the customer. You don't recognize the customer name. You don't recognize the address until you're actually pulling up to the house and you're like, oh, I remember this house. But you don't really remember exactly if that customer was a good tipper, if they didn't tip at all, whatever. Like, so I like to keep in my Google Maps track of that address. That way, if an order comes back up again, I go to my maps, I'll type in that address and it'll let me know. If nothing shows up, that means I've never delivered there before. If a red pen shows up, it means that that was not a good tipper. So I may not want to select that order and accept it again. Or if they were a good tipper, then I'll be happy to take that order. Shipt customers can also choose preferred shoppers. So right now, let's see. Preferred members. I currently have 2 preferred members, and basically what that means is these 2 customers really liked me as their delivery person. So whenever they do put in an order, that order will come to me as priority first, and if I'm able to take it, I'll take it. People can select you as a preferred shopper. So what I always say is customer service goes a long way. Whether they tipped you before, whether you don't know if you're going to get a tip, whether it's a lot of issues going on. I had a customer one time that I couldn't find any of her items in this Target. And so I felt like I was constantly messaging her, asking her, hey, do you want to substitute this? Like, she's going to get sick of me. But sure enough, she's one of those customers that selected me as a preferred shopper. And I think it is because I communicated well with her. Make sure that you're communicating. I cannot tell you how many times I've personally purchased something and ordered something for delivery, because when you work for Shipt, you do get free Shipt membership, okay? There's been times where I've made orders and instead of the shopper communicating with me when something was out of stock or they couldn't find my size or whatever the case, they just selected that they couldn't find it and they moved on. I had a customer, and I didn't realize it until after the fact, but this is something that I normally would not have done, and I did it this particular time. She ordered like a set, a hoodie and a short set, a white tank top, and some underwear. So after the fact, I realized she had ordered a whole outfit and some underwear. I couldn't find her underwear to save my life. I could not find those underwear. Y'all, when I say Target, I can't even call it Target anymore. Target has become like an outlet store to me. Some of the Targets, I will say. I was looking for underwear, and baby, honey, underwear were everywhere. Shoes were everywhere. Like a mess. And to be honest, I hadn't seen a whole lot of us inside the store. So I was like, man, y'all may want to reconsider who you want working here, who you want shopping here, because it's a mess up in here right now. And it ain't us. But I could not find that girl's underwear, and she asked for an extra, extra large. And I ended up finding a 2X, which I feel like it's the same thing. But as I was scanning it, it kept saying wrong item. At that point, I should have reached out to that customer and asked her if this size was going to be appropriate, because it was all that I could find, or if there were any other type of underwear that she would like that I could possibly find her. But I didn't. I just selected that I couldn't find it because I was in a rush. And then afterwards, I realized, man, she ordered a whole outfit and she needed underwear. She probably wasn't staying at home. She probably needed those underwear. Like, I was beating myself up. But that's a good tip, to make sure that you're just communicating. If you can't find something, let them know. Ask them, is there anything you'd like for me to substitute? Sometimes you can go off and shop for something else, find another item, and wait for them to reply. Now, if you really want to drive good customer service, I have seen people put like a little goodie bag, maybe with some chocolates and a note that says, thank you for choosing me as your shopper. Ask to leave a review. Maybe ask for a tip. I don't know. Something to kind of just go that extra mile. That's not something that I've personally done, but I think it's a great idea to just leave a personal touch, or even just to brighten up their days. Sometimes for me, it's not even all about the tips. Of course, I'm doing this to get extra money, so a tip would be appreciated, especially since we get 100% of our tips. But sometimes it's also just making someone's day. They obviously, for whatever reason, couldn't or chose not to actually go to the store and shop these things for themselves. So why not give them a little extra picker-upper when you drop their items off. A good rule of thumb when I am shopping orders, I always shop as if I'm shopping for myself. So if I wouldn't normally pick out a certain batch of onions or a certain batch of bananas, I'm not going to pick up that batch for a customer. I'm going to shop just like I would shop for myself. I did that before with a dress. I looked at the dress, I turned it around, and I saw that there was like a deodorant stain. Someone had previously tried on the dress, and I noticed there was deodorant stain. I put that dress right on back on the rack and found a different dress. Another thing that sometimes the store manager that helps you to process your order will not catch if there is a security tag on clothing. And a lot of times it's not even just clothing. So make sure that you're double checking if there's any security tags to make sure that they remove that security tag for you. I do love that some of the Targets are creating like a separate area for Shipt shoppers to bag their stuff and process the order for you. I actually love that Shipt sent me this Shipt shirt for making, I can't even remember how many orders I had to complete in order to get my Shipt shirt, but it helps me when I'm like shopping, especially inside of Target. Hey, y'all know. It just helps to be recognized, you know, so the employees there know, hey, I'm working for Shipt. When I'm looking crazy and I'm moving all around trying to find something, they know I'm working right now. Also, if you're doing multiple orders while you're shopping and you have a shopping cart, one thing that I do like to do, sometimes I will put a basket and I may shop for that order in the basket, and I'll put that basket like in the front of the cart so I know that this is one order. Or if it's not a whole lot of items, I'll put just one order in that front section of the cart, and the bigger order I'll put it in the back of the cart, just so I can separate those orders when it comes time to start bagging them and placing them in my cart. But I would suggest if you are just getting started with Shipt, just do one order per hour. Get that order out, get acclimated with the different stores. I had to get acclimated with 2 different Targets in my area, actually 3. I've been to 3 different Targets like in my area, and they are all set up differently. But for most items, the Shipt app will tell you exactly what aisle it's gonna be in. If all else fails, do not be afraid to ask an employee for help. I typically like to ask an employee that has one of the handheld devices in their hand, because they can look up the SKU, figure out where the item is. They can even tell you if there's any more on the floor. They're there for a reason. This is their job. Don't feel like you're bothering them. Just ask. Thank them for their help and their assistance, and always just keep a smile on your face. I know for me, when I'm smiling, people are willing to help. People are super nice, especially if you engage in conversation. Don't just ask for help and then just be sitting there not engaging. Getting to know the employees to the point where they automatically going to help you because they've seen you so many times and you're like part of the family now. Like, I feel like I work at Target sometimes. Don't spend too much time looking for stuff. That time goes by so fast. The app will tell you when you should ideally start shopping. And I say start shopping at that time or earlier. If your window to deliver is between 2 and 3, like start shopping early, get to the store early, and try to get that order delivered to that customer within 2 to 3. Not right at 3 o'clock, not right at 2:50. Try to get it to them like early in that hour. There are customers who will say, hey, I don't mind my order being early. And it'll say it on the app. It'll say early, okay. I've had times where I was waiting, I was out and about, and Kroger had a delivery only order. And I want to say it was like between 3 and 4. And I received an offer for a Target delivery from 3 to 4 as well. And so I reached out to the customer and I was like, hey, do you mind if I drop this off earlier? And they were like, absolutely. So I went ahead, went to Target and dropped off their order because I was waiting on the time to pick up my Kroger order. And I was like, let me make some extra money in the meantime. So sometimes you can just reach out to the customer, ask if they're okay with you dropping it off early. I don't think anyone's ever not okay with you dropping it off early. Oh, look, someone's rollerblading outside. I need to go meet her. It is. I want to learn how to roller skate. She got knee pads on and everything. I love that. So I would say to move swiftly as you're moving through these orders, be minimalistic, okay? Have maybe a crossbody bag on. I have brought my camera with me if I'm like vlogging or doing some things with my camera, but you have to have your phone, obviously, as you're working through the app and working through the orders, finding the items and things like that. But I find it easier to just maneuver around the store if you are just dressed minimally, comfortable shoes. I have worn like my slides and I'll get to tripping as I'm walking because I'm walking fast. You want to be able to just maneuver properly. And then when you are delivering, especially if you're climbing up steps or you're walking far, you're walking from into your car, you want to have on some tennis shoes or something that is going to be comfortable for you to move around in. Even when you're driving, I always recommend hands-free driving. I wear these glasses because they have Bluetooth capability. So if anybody calls me, I can answer the call on my glasses versus having like earbuds in my ears, especially when I have to ask an employee for help. When you got those AirPods in your ears, sometimes it's hard to hear. I like to wear these Ray-Bans because if I take a call, I can just talk to them. Nothing covering my ears, but nothing in my hands. And then also for content, I can always, if I need to take a picture or I'm recording something, I do love to use these glasses when I am doing Shipt delivery. But in the car especially, always get you a phone mount to mount your phone up so that you can see those directions as you're driving. Try to be as hands-free as possible, especially when you are driving. And speaking of driving, I highly recommend using Upside for your gas. I love Upside because wherever you are, as soon as you pull up the app, it'll tell you what gas stations are nearby and what they are offering. So I think it's great to just save money on the gas. You get that cash back and you fill up your tank because you have to fill up your tank at the end of the day. But if you're interested in downloading the Upside app to fill up your tank, definitely check out the description box so that you can enter my referral code and you'll be able to get some extra cash back just for using my referral code. I think that's all as far as the tips go. I'm trying to think. I would also just say, like, when you're in the store and you're shopping for orders, if you're doing multiple orders at a time, just double check both of the lists, because what you don't want to do is be in the grocery aisle, in the grocery section, picking up grocery items for one customer and then start moving over to, let's say, home goods items, and then you get to your next customer and you got to go back to the grocery. So look at both of the lists to see what areas of the store you have to go to ahead of time. It's going to take a lot of getting used to when you're doing the orders and understanding where certain things are in the store. But the more you do it, the more you get a hang of it. And then I'd say start shopping at these stores that you're shifting for. And my daughter just reminded me, I love to bring my girl Karis along with me. She loves to shop, especially at Target. I feel like we get our Target fix by shopping for other customers. But I love to bring her along because it helps the process when I have multiple orders. She'll shop for one customer while I shop for the other. We work together as a team to get those orders out quickly. So if you have a little you, bring your child with you. Teach them. It also helps them to learn how to shop, especially at the grocery store. If you're not already bringing them along with you when you're grocery shopping. Me personally, when I'm grocery shopping, I like to do it by myself because one, I don't have somebody asking me all the time, can I get this? Can I get that? No, that's my zen. I actually am growing out of my laziness. I'm growing out of my laziness in so many areas. Getting back to enjoying grocery shopping, enjoying just going through the aisles, seeing people laughing, joking, smiling, small conversation. Like, that's how you connect. And I'm in the season of just connecting with people, allowing God to send the right people into my life. The proximity. You never know what opportunities come out of that. But you can't meet people if you're sitting in the house and allowing other people to grocery shop for you. Okay? Bring your little one with you when you're doing the Shipt orders, just so that they can help you, be a helping hand. It also teaches them how to look for particular items, look at the price of items. You do have to scan the item and it'll tell you if it's right or wrong. And there are some times where it's very particular. I've been teaching my daughter how to, For instance, like look at the ounces. Sometimes it may be the right item, but you're picking up the wrong ounces, or you're not paying attention to, maybe they ask for non-dairy ice cream. You got to look for the specifics in the item a lot of times. So it helps them to understand how to look for the details and become detail oriented as well. But just being strategic in what you're doing, being strategic in the stores that you're going to, the offers that you're accepting. And the more that you accept, the more you'll start to see orders. Honestly, I'm sitting here and I'm waiting on orders. It's been a little slow today. Let's see if we have anything. Nope. Right now there are no orders available. I don't know if you can see. There's always like some open metro promo orders. And basically what that means is when you're putting in your schedule, you can choose what zones you want to deliver in. It's good to look at those promo places as well, because there may be some that aren't in your zoned area, but they're close by. And if it makes sense for you, then take it. Shipt also offers like bonuses every now and then. They'll do like earn an additional $20 if you deliver 2 orders on time between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. That's an additional $20 that you can get on top of the money that you're getting for the service, as well as the tips. So the key is to make the most money out of this side hustle. Now, for me, it's a side hustle. For someone else, it may be their full-time job while they're in between jobs, or whatever your situation is. But I am working side hustles right now because... Okay, so the big question of why I'm on this journey, what brought me to this journey, the goal of this journey, all that jazz. So I told y'all that this is a side hustle for me. And I am big on side hustles right now because I am on a journey to becoming financially free. Let me take the glasses off. I'm on a journey towards becoming financially free. It took me to realize that I was not being a good steward of my money when I started looking at the debt that I had, the income that I was bringing in, my net worth. All these things just weren't adding up. And honestly, the Bible literally tells us to be good stewards of our money. And I have quite a few Bible references that I do want to share with you, but I want to start by saying, being a good steward over your money does not always look glamorous. So that's why I'm here. I realized I wasn't being a good steward of my money when I was looking at debt in the face, and I was questioning why I had debt that I had never paid off. Why were there things on my credit that were just sitting there? Why were student loans gaining interest over 10 years and I was doing nothing about it? I honestly was saying things like, oh, these will just go to the grave with me. How selfish is that, first of all? How selfish is that I would leave behind debt for my loved ones versus leaving behind wealth? That's very, very, very selfish. And on top of that, it's also stealing. And I had to realize that I'm like, if you took money that you were supposed to pay back, a loan, right? If you took out a student loan to go to school to pay for college and you were supposed to pay it back and you didn't, and you decided that you weren't going to, that is essentially stealing. And one thing I'm not is a thief. So I had to come to the conclusion that no, I cannot just not pay these student loans off. I borrowed the money, so I have to pay it back. Anytime I have borrowed money from anyone, such as a family member, someone that's close to me, I've always paid it back because I never wanted to have any type of bad blood between anybody that was gracious enough to lend me money. Now, I am no longer borrowing money from anybody besides myself, okay? I am not a borrower. Let's go there. In Romans 13:8, it says, owe nothing to anyone except to love one another. For the one who loves his neighbor has fulfilled the law. We are not to be borrowers. We are not to owe money to anybody. That is law. It says it. That is law. It's law. So we are not supposed to be taking out loans and gathering and stacking up this debt. God wants us to be wealthy. He wants us to be prosperous. He wants us to be lenders. He wants us to give generously. He does not want us to be slaves. When you borrow money from a bank, you are now their slave, because now you have to take your hard-earned money to pay off this money that you borrowed. Versus saving your money, get into a place to be financially able to pay things with cash or not live above your means, so that you're not having to go knocking on bank doors and begging for money. That is not the way that God intended for us to be. He intended for us to be the ones that lend money. Honestly, the ones that give money generously from the hearts, because we've put ourselves in the position to do so. And so that brings me back to why I'm doing Shipt as a side hustle, because I am in the process of paying off this debt that I didn't realize was causing me so much harm financially. I am so proud to say that as of January 1st, when I started getting really serious about paying off debt, I have paid off $8,000 to this day. I have cleared everything off of my credit, and I've started paying off my student loans. That just doesn't even sound like something that I would have said 5 years ago. And so my whole mindset has shifted. When it comes to financial freedom, it is a mindset. It's how you view money. And we have to get to a place where we are not looking at money as a negative thing, where talking about money becomes freeing, is a positive thing, and we want to be better. We want to grow and do better. And now that I know better, I do better, and I would love to help other people achieve the same things while I'm still on this journey. I'm still not yet able to say I'm debt free, but I'm getting there and I'm working towards that. So it is important, in order to do that, even though I have a full-time job, to still be able to bring in extra money on the side, whatever that is for you. If it's Shipt delivery, great. If it's doing hair on the side, which is something that I still do also, that's also a great way. We have to find ways to bring in that extra money to help this process not be so much of a burden, because it is hard when you're earning money and you're working, your regular 40 hours a week, and you have to start paying off debts. It's harder when it's your main full-time income, but when you have something on the side that's bringing in a little bit extra, you can start taking that and plugging at the debt, and it doesn't feel like such a burden. Yeah, you're going to be working. I always recommend finding a side hustle that is enjoyable for you, so that it makes this process more of a purposeful and enjoyable event, right? So on the subject of being a slave, in Proverbs 22:7, it says, "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower becomes a lender's slave." Being debt-free allows you to serve others and God more freely. When you're debt-free, you're able to serve others and God more freely. When I started getting rid of debt and seeing my credit score jump, and even just having extra cushion every month, not living paycheck to paycheck, and even when it was time for me to give to God and give my tithe, it felt freeing. Eliminate the debt so that you can give and serve others and God freely. That's it. In Proverbs 21:5, it says, "The plans of the diligent certainly lead to advantage, but everyone who is in a hurry certainly comes to poverty." Slow progress is better than no progress. I have to pick up side hustles to do the thing that I'm doing with intention. It may take me a while, but the fact that I'm doing it, it just shows that I'm putting in the effort and I'm being intentional about the things that I am doing, because I have this goal in place. And the race is not given to the strong or the swift, but the one that endures to the end. So as long as I'm going after this thing, not so much focusing on the money, but focusing on the little things that add up to me achieving and accomplishing the goal. Oh my God, y'all. That brings me to my next scripture. Luke 16:10-11. I said little things and it just flowed right into it. Just remember, slow progress is better than no progress. As long as you're putting in the action and you set the goal and you say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I've had to redirect my whole budget system, and I've had to cut out expenses that I didn't necessarily want to cut out, but I knew that I had to. I knew that I had to make a sacrifice. I go back to last year when I downsized to a 1-bedroom apartment, and I had the right idea, but I didn't have the right mindset. The idea was to downsize and put myself in a position and sacrifice to save money, right? Yes, I did that, but I still had high expenses that I had to take care of. And so a year went by and it didn't really put me in a better position. It actually put me in a position where I was almost forced to go back to St. Louis because I couldn't get approved for an apartment. But God, my friend tells me that God is like a fourth quarter God for me because he shows up at the very last minute, at the buzzer. I shoot and I score, God shows up. But that's just a testament to God's goodness in my life. But I say that because I say that it's all about mindset, right? You can have the right intention, you can have the right idea, but if you don't shift your mindset, you're just going to be doing without structure, without plan, and it's not going to work. Which brings me to my next scripture, which is Luke chapter 16, verses 10 through 11. It says, the one who is faithful in very little things is also faithful in much. And the one who is unrighteous in a very little thing is also unrighteous in much. Therefore, if you have not been faithful in the use of unrighteous wealth, who will entrust the true wealth in you? This put a dagger in my heart because I realized God would give me little and I would still do nothing about it. He'd literally give me lump sums of money. And what do? I just do stupid stuff. I go shopping, I get my hair done, get my nails done, like doing this stupid stuff versus paying off debt, putting money aside, maybe putting money in a 529 account so your kids can go to college without having to take out loans. He gives you little and watches exactly what you're doing with it. If you can't show God that you can handle a little, what makes you think he's going to give you a lot? That's what I had to tell myself. I'm like, you're asking for more income. You're asking for a bigger home. But when God gives you little, you're not handling it properly. But you're expecting God to give you more. He wants to give you more, but he also needs to see how you're handling the little things that he's giving you. And that goes to also appreciating the little things. When I paid off the $8,000 in debt and cleared the collections off of my credit, I had to celebrate myself because that was so little compared to the big debt that I have. But the fact that I was able to put in the time and be intentional about paying those things off made me just so appreciative of God. The times that he would show up, the times that I would get a $40 tip on an order that I wasn't expecting to get anything from because I delivered it late. It's the little things that I show appreciation for. And in that, I also want to say that we have to give God his portion because none of this money, none of this wealth is on our own doing. It's not. So we have to give back to God when we are rewarded, and we have to do it generously and happily. Don't feel like you're being robbed of your tithe. Like, do it from the bottom of your heart because you know that God is going to continue to bless you even more. So just being faithful in these small side hustles shows God that you can be trusted with bigger and better and more. That brings me to Matthew 25:21. Because once you start appreciating the little things, this is what God says to you. His master said to him, well done. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter the joy of your master. When you're doing what you're supposed to do and being intentional, God is going to open doors. I am expecting. I used to feel like, oh, I can't just expect God to do anything. No, I am expecting miracle blessings because I know the hard work that I'm putting in and I know my intention. I know my heart. And I also know that my God is faithful and he tells no lies. So if he says that if I do right by him with the little things, he's going to bless me with the bigger things, then that's what I expect to happen. When you think, oh, it's never going to happen, He comes in real quick, swoops you up, and shows you, no, baby girl, it is going to happen. Just keep that in mind. When you do something and you tackle the smallest accomplishment, the smallest goal, remember God saying, well done. Well done, my child. That feels so good just to hear somebody say, well done, right? 1 Timothy 6:6-10. But godliness actually is a means of great gain when accompanied by contentment. For we have brought nothing into the world, so we cannot take anything out of it. If we have food and covering, with these we shall be content. But those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap and many foolish and harmful desires which plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all sorts of evil, and some by longing for it have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with griefs. I bring this to light because when we're doing these side hustles, when we're paying off debt, when we're handling our business and being responsible over our money, let's not focus on the money. Let's focus on being good stewards over our money. Let's focus on handling our money and taking care of things and getting out of debt and paying back people that we owe, paying our bills on time, not buying things we can't afford. When we are being and doing the right thing and not focusing so much on the money, it flows better. When I pick up orders and I focus more on doing the order, making someone's day, giving great customer service, delivering the order on time, when I focus more on that portion of it, I typically will get a good tip because I'm not forcing the tip. I'm not forcing the money. My mindset is not on the money specifically. I'm not just money, money, money. I need money. I'm not a Pac-Man trying to eat up all the money. I'm just doing and putting myself in a position to earn more money so I can do right by the money. And when I fix myself on the doing right by part, the money seems to just come and it flows. So I don't want you to get in the mindset of, oh, side hustles. I got to do this. I got to do that because of the money. I can make more money if I do this. I need more money here. Let's not focus on the money part of gaining money, because once we start having a love for money, that's the root of all evil. And that's when we self-destruct. You have to stay grounded in purpose while not actually chasing the money. I hope that makes sense. In saying that, it brings me right to Colossians 3, verse 23 and 24. It says, whatever you do, do your work heartily as for the Lord and not for people, knowing that it is from the Lord that you will receive the reward of the inheritance. It is the Lord Christ whom we serve. Even in doing deliveries, you have to do it with integrity and intention. And that is why I gave you those tips and things up front. And I stressed customer service because you're still working. You're still working and you're still serving other people. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So you have to do it with integrity. You have to do it with honesty. And that is how you stay blessed, because the reward still comes from God. Okay, yes, your customer may tip you, but I'm always going to bring up my customer that tipped me $40 on an order that was delivered late. That was nothing but God. God put it in her spirit to give me that $40 tip. At the end of the day, the reward comes from God, and he sees you and he sees how you move and he sees how your mind is and he sees what you're doing. It's all for his glory at the end of the day. So do it with intention, do it with integrity, and do it on purpose with purpose. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you would like to see more videos like this, definitely subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave me a comment, and stay connected. And thank you for sitting through this space where faith meets wellness, and together we grow in his light and purpose. Peace.